Hello guys, how are you? Hello wonderful people, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Betty Nthusa, and for those who we might have interacted in other forums, you can call me Agnes. That's my first name. So my channel is Binti Afya Kenya, as I mentioned earlier. So all we talk about is women's health in Kenya and also other issues that are affecting our women all around and also the general population. So today's video is a bit different, but it sort of adds up to what I talked earlier. That is the previous video. I hope you watched it and you gave it a thumbs up and shared with your friends. So the previous video I talked about suicide prevention in Kenya, but this video it's a bit different, but it sort of connects to what I talked about in that video. So today's video is about domestic violence in Kenya, and we are going to talk about the various forms of domestic violence. What are the signs that you can actually look at? What are the things that you can actually do to even help someone who is going through such an issue? So thank you so much for watching my video, and stay tuned for more information on this video. So I'm going to just expound more on what I mentioned earlier on what topic we're going to be handling today. So today we are going to be talking about domestic violence, and I'm sure this is something that you might have heard somewhere around, being talked about. But we need to know what is it, what is the definition, the real definition of domestic violence, what are some of the forms of domestic violence, and also we are going to talk about the statistics in Kenya and also maybe globally. So to start with, what is domestic violence? So domestic violence is any form of behavior, purpose of which is to gain control or power over someone who is maybe your spouse, your girlfriend, or even an intimate partner, or even a family member, because these things even happen in the family setups. So basically that's the definition of domestic violence, any form of behavior that the sole purpose of it is to gain control over someone. So now that we know the definition of domestic violence, we are going to talk about the statistics of domestic violence in Kenya. I don't want to talk about globally because these are issues that you're going to talk about more, and I think it's better that we focus on Kenya, so that if it's things that we are going to decide to implement, there are things that are Kenyan. So what are the statistics in Kenya? The statistics actually show that according to the government data, 45% of women and girls aged between 15 and 49 years have experienced violence, and 14% of them have also been exposed to sexual violence. So actually 45% of all women in Kenya aged between 15 to 49 years, and 15 to 49 years mostly it's women of reproductive age. That's what we call that age group. 45% of them have experienced a form of violence, and then 15% of those actually not 15%, let me just confirm again, 14%, that is 14% of them have been exposed to sexual violence. So sexual violence is one of the form of the domestic violence you're going to highlight earlier on, or in this video. So basically those are the statistics in Kenya, and it's quite worrying. Even when you look at the statistics more and more, you can actually see that there's so many people who are experiencing domestic violence, and the weird part of it, or the sad part of it, is that these people never come out. You find that many cases are not reported, and a few of them even receive medical support or even any form of justice. So I think we need to do something about this, because if more women are going to come out to be able to talk about their issues with domestic violence, there has to be that thing that pushes them, because they know very well if they talk about it, it's going to be addressed and they're going to get help. Okay, so now that we know the statistics in Kenya and what actually so many women are experiencing, I think it's good that we know what are some of the signs that we can actually use to recognize, or rather to sort of get to know that you're actually going through a domestic violence issue, or you're going through an abuse in your relationship or in your setup, a family setup, whichever way, whichever sort of setup that it is. So some of the things that you can actually recognize, or you can use to be able to recognize the signs of domestic violence, is that when your partner embarrasses or make fun of you in front of people, put down your accomplishments, make you feel unable to make decisions, that is, use intimidation or threats to gain compliance, tell you that you're nothing without them, treat you roughly, that is, grab, push, pinch, or shove you or hit you, then call you several times a night, or show up to make sure that you are where you said you'd be. I'm sure this has happened to some of you. Use drugs or alcohol as an excuse for saying artful things or abusing you. Then blame you for how they feel or act. Have you ever sort of heard someone saying that they're acting the way they're acting because of the way you made them feel, or something like that? Then pressure you sexually for things that you aren't ready for, and make you feel like there's no way out of the relationship, and then prevent you from doing things you want, like spending time with your friends. Like, they control everything. Like, they don't want you to go out and spend time with your friends. Try to keep you from leaving after a fight, or leave you somewhere after a fight to teach you a lesson. Okay, so those are some of the signs that you can actually recognize that you're undergoing domestic violence. So some of them, also as a person, what are some of the things you might feel as a person who is being directed to, or rather the domestic violence is being directed to? What are some of the things that you can actually sort of use to be able to realize, actually, this is what is happening? So some of the signs include, sometimes you feel scared of how your partner may behave, constantly making excuses to other people for your partner's behavior, believe that you can help your partner change if only you change something about yourself. Believing that it's like there's something that you're doing that is making them to act the way they're acting, so if you change that thing, they're going to sort of become better and start treating you better. Then always do what your partner wants you to do instead of what you want. It's always making sure that you do what they like, so that you sort of don't get into trouble, or they don't start abusing you. Then stay with your partner because you're afraid of what your partner would do if you broke up. Remember, I said one of the warning signs that you can actually realize that someone is or your partner is actually abusing you is that they sort of threaten that if you're going to leave, they're going to do worse things, or it's like they're telling you are nothing without them, so you can't leave or go anywhere. Then sometimes you can actually try not to do anything that would cause conflict or make your partner angry. I think I mentioned it earlier, trying to just please them all the time because you don't want to get into trouble. So those are some of the things that you can actually realize as a person. The way these things are, I'm doing as a person, they're not the right things, and I feel like, there's some sort of abuse. Maybe it has reached a point of physical abuse, but these are some of the things that you can actually realize earlier on. So now that we know the various, forms of warning signs, and some of the things that you can actually feel as a person to be able to realize that you're going through such a, domestic violence issue, I think now we can talk about the specifics. What are the various forms of abuse? Because domestic violence is quite wide, and you can talk about so many things about it, but there are various specific forms of abuse in the domestic setup that you can actually realize that these are things that sort of exposing me to domestic violence. So some of them include of course, there's physical abuse, and I'm going to talk about more on it on the next videos. There's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's also psychological abuse, and this of course includes your mental well-being as a person. Also, there's financial or economic abuse. I know this is quite it's not very well known, but actually there's some sort of financial economic abuse that involves domestic violence. Then there's also sexual violence, as I mentioned earlier. There's stalking, and there's also reproductive health abuse. There's also religion. There are so many forms of abuse, and I think in the next video we are going to talk more about it, and you're going to dive deep into what are the forms of this physical abuse, emotional abuse, religion abuse, financial or economic abuse, even reproductive health abuse. So those are some of the forms of abuse, and I think it's good that we highlight them in just brief, because if I start now going into the deep depth of each one of them, we may take the whole day, but it's okay. I'm sure we have all the time. I'm going to do a video that is a specific video for each and every form of abuse. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking through up to this point. I hope you've learned something new, maybe about the definition, the various forms of domestic violence, and I hope that you're going to learn more and more, and also share with your friends. So thank you so much. In the next videos, we're going to talk more in specifics about the various forms of domestic violence. So make sure that you stay tuned, share with your friends, like, comment, subscribe, and make sure that you enjoy as you watch with everyone else. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day, whatever it is that you have. Mwah.